business to set up, and mine was 400 quid. It cost £400 for my first stock. It's nothing.
Some people dismiss the starting one straight away.
They'll go to a £50,000 figure. Where did you get that from? You pulled that out your ass. Some businesses do cost that, but lots don't. So start off with something which doesn't. What resources do you have? What capabilities do you have? And then go from there. Look, Wes, he told me that I was too comfortable. I bought a Ferrari. Right, 4.8 Spider, blue Electrico. It was the most expensive one in the country. I was terrified. I did like a bit of cocaine. And at my zenith, at my peak use, it was probably about a 20 bag a week habit. You know, I drank to excess.
But your life now looks very different. Obviously, your like mental toughness, you know, in a word, and you've got your businesses and everything like that. How did you get yourself from there to there? Once again, the people that are watching.
You're allowed to have guides, but you have to do the work on your own. There's no shortcut. It's a window of what you consider hard, and once you reset that barometer or thermometer, then that hard thing becomes easy, becomes normal. It's a standard. So it seems overwhelming, but once you've done it, you go, what was the bloody problem?
Ross, welcome to the Make It Big podcast.
Thank you ever so much.
I'm looking forward to this. You've had an eventful life. You've certainly made it big, in my opinion, with your mindset and the stuff that you've achieved, but it wasn't always like that, and it didn't start like that, did it?
No, I mean, I've worked since I was 11. I think I've only had 1 year off, essentially. But, you know, that's more of a distraction. Really, I always knew that I wanted to be my own boss, rather because I had to be my own boss. Because, let's say, I don't play well with others, or historically didn't do well. So where I find myself, I guess I couldn't have imagined, but it's probably what I wanted.
Yeah. So where did it all start for you? So where did you grow up, and then could you give everyone sort of a brief story about, you know, where you are right now and the challenges you've had on the way? Yeah,
so I grew up in Essex. My father was a ground worker. He had a couple of companies, but he'd always been trying to get after it in that respect. That was, you know, quite difficult for him. I did okay at school, highly mediocre, always could do better. Did terribly at A-levels, but I got an unconditional offer. Went to university, did exercise science and IT up in Nottingham because it was an easy option for me. After that, I worked in the fitness industry for a couple of years. I had 4 jobs. I was a doorman, a martial arts instructor. I was doing some PT type classes, and I was a gym instructor as well. And I was happy as a Larry. And then I went to work for a healthcare company selling drugs, ironically, pharmaceuticals. I did 2 of those. I then went into healthcare. So I was in GE for maternal infant care for about 5 years, and it's the job I did best at. And then from there, I went from maternity IT, implantable defibs, implantable defibrillators. And it was at that point in time I knew that I hated what I was doing. So halfway through that, I set my company up with 400 quid. I was buying CTG belts from a company from the States. I was selling them out of my conservatory when I was living in Bristol. The company that I was working for found out about this and weren't best pleased. I'd left a message for my boss on her answer phone. Because I was talking to my father on the phone on my hands free, and I called her from a butt. I'd butt dialed her. Best thing that could have happened, because then I was kind of forced to start. And I was driving around in 1.5 diesel Clio for God knows how many miles a year, sort of going around talking to customers and building the business.
Wow. Something happened in between that, though, didn't it?
Oh, all sorts of things happened in between that. But, I mean, really fun. I'd always not quite fitted in. This was always a problem. And I'd always drunk. I drank from the age of about 14 because I was hiding. I couldn't quite fit in. I lacked a lot of confidence. And that didn't stop. I was in sales. And if you're in sales, you drink. That's kind of what you do. And then if you fast forward on to when I moved to London, and probably prior to this, if you have a bit of money and you set up a business like I have, which has a lot of free time, you kind of take drink and you take that to the next level. So I did like a bit of cocaine. And at my zenith, at my peak use, it was probably about a 20 bag a week habit, which I nearly died several times, as I found out later when someone described something which happened to their friends. So it was all lots of near misses. Long story short, I met someone, sabotaged that. They then called me to task, and I quit everything overnight. Just stopped. I mean, you never really stop. You've been wanting to stop for a period of time.
Quit for that person.
I quitted for me because I knew that I wouldn't have anything good in my life if I didn't quit.
Ah, I see.
And then if you then fast forward on about a year from that, being sober, having therapy, trying to work things out, I was still insane because I wasn't dealing with the problems that underlay that. She left, and rightly so. And it was at that point in time I could just see my future rolling out ahead of me, and I'd think, right, 2 years I'll be dead. No doubt about that, because I would have been about 45, so I'd be about now. So I wouldn't be talking to you now.
Wow.
I reached out to a guy called Wes Watson, who was my coach, who I'd actually previously reached out to before, which was purpose over pleasure, discipline, and commitment for something greater so you could actually serve others. And it was like purpose, which I was totally lacking, because I lived in fear. I lived in fear of judgment, I lived in fear of success, I lived in fear of loneliness, I lived in fear of intimacy, vulnerability, the whole thing. It was miserable. And genuinely, it's probably taken till now. And it's all I focused on over the last 2.5 years. And I count myself very lucky to be able to do that.
Some people watching this will be in a tricky situation right now, whether it's mentally or in their business, finances, whatever it is with their family. Maybe it's not as bad as yours, or maybe it is. Everyone's got their own idea of what's obviously bad to them. Can you take us back to one of your sort of darkest moments, you know?
I think it's funny. It's not really a specific moment, but I'd have been driving around more than once thinking, I'm going to drive this into a pillar. This was my way out. And I didn't realise it was such a common experience for me that I didn't realise it was a problem. I didn't realise it was...
uncommon?
Not uncommon. I think it's probably a bit more common than you think. I think it's actually probably more normal than you think. But it wasn't healthy. Because it was a familiar feeling. So anything which was driving me to distract. I mean, probably the darkest times, really, if I think it was like if you're 6 bags in for a 6-bag bender, and I'd be sitting there, my limbs had been going blue. I'd had shooting pains through my limbs.
What's a bag? Sorry, just
sorry. 6 bags of cocaine. So that's kind of like 1/8 of an ounce, roughly. It's a pretty steep amount. It didn't start that way. It never starts that way. Nothing ever starts that way. It always becomes that way. And knowing that my limbs were going blue, and I would wind up in the shower because my temperature was spiking, thinking I should call an ambulance, and not doing it because I was so ashamed.
Wow.
Because it's shame which gets you. It's shame which gets you. Shame and guilt, always.
But your life now looks very different. Obviously, your like mental toughness, you know, in a word, and you've got your businesses and everything like that. How did you get yourself from there to there? Once again, the people that are watching
totally.
Stuff.
Well, it's not complicated. It's just very hard to do. And first things first, you have to value yourself enough to ask for help. You have to know, you know, everyone has a rock bottom. Rock bottom is a beautiful place. There's a great thing with Mike Tyson. He talks about this, and it is ultimately where maybe you have to get to. So if you're still breathing, you're still in the game. Nothing is over. It's very hard to be optimistic like that because you have a lot of reason not to be optimistic. But people solve this problem all the time. What they do is they decide that they're actually worth it. They ask for help. They find the right help that's right for them. That's critical. I've had to find someone who had been there because I'd had therapy before and it didn't really work. I had to have someone who actually I would recognise as saying, wow, he overcome that. I have to do that. And I just took my brain out, realised that I wasn't the person who knew everything anymore. I wasn't the clever fucker I thought I was. And I just committed to a process. There was a bunch of other things attached to that, but I literally took my brain out and I hit as hard as I could. So whilst I wasn't in terrible shape, I was about 203 kilos. I lost 9 kilos in 42 days. I've exercised all my life. I never did that so thoroughly. And I just committed to what I was told to do because I clearly wasn't the person who could solve my problems alone.
Yeah. I think a lot of people live in that denial area for a long time, don't they?
Totally.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, I don't know if you agree with this, but sometimes it's the people that aren't really bad, but they're sort of in that middle ground.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that will never seek help. I've got people I used to go to school with, and they go out doing stuff that you used to do most of the weekends, probably not on the same level, but they still do it.
Yeah.
And because they're still maintaining their job and maybe an okay relationship, they don't see it as a problem.
No, it's mediocrity is like a death of a thousand cuts. And if you're going to do it properly. And I think often people, it's easy to pretend it's not a problem when you pretend it's not a problem, but it's a bloody problem. And it's certainly not going to mean you're going to have the fulfilled experience of your life as you possibly could do. You're certainly not going to start that business. Any business you have, as I didn't, you'll detonate. Any relationship you'll have will not be as good a relationship because you don't have the good relationship with you. If you're running and hiding, you're running and hiding. I don't care what anyone says about that. That's exactly what you're doing.
So how do people not hide?
Well, you have to be courageous enough to seek truth, and it's staring at you everywhere. It's staring everywhere. It's you getting messages all the time from how people treat you, for how you feel. It's all coming to you. You're just decluttering, paring stuff back down to brass tacks. So if you feel life is chaotic, it's not. It's how you're dealing with it is chaotic. If you feel like your mind is chaos, it is not. It's just a habit of chaotic thought and attaching to things. Now that sounds all very kind of spiritual and stuff, and it kind of is. But being able to sit above the waves of thought or below them is a practice. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like everything. It's reps. And you've heard it 1,000 times, but it really is. It's just repetition, repetition, repetition. I do a lot of mindfulness, and mindfulness is literally the act of noticing when you've been taken away somewhere to come back. It's that simple. As I said, it's all simple stuff. It's just very hard to do.
Observing,
yeah. If you can become the observer, not indulge in your drama, create the space. There's more space. How I use it as there was a game called Hopper back when I was a kid, or Frogger, and you had to get a frog across a road, and there's traffic. And when you look at this game first, there's no gaps in the road. And it's the same with this. And you create more space by calming yourself, but it takes a long time. Best route in is exercise.
Yeah. What do you think about sort of the invisible compounding that happens, though, in that stage? Because it's very easy. A lot of people say, just believe it's going to work. You know what I mean? Set a plan, start working towards it. But you can be on the right path. But then what they don't mention is the 1, 2, 3 or 4 years it takes of reps that you don't see any progress, and then until you get the result.
Yeah, well here would be the thing. So it's sort of like, if you have a plan, you're looking for an outcome, you can't do that. So you just have to, again, you give yourself over to the process. You do what you're told to do, and as if by magic, a pile of confidence and self-belief builds. So if you have a mountain of shame that you've built up over time for everything you haven't done, or all the bad things you did do, that's going to have a lot to overcome that. So you might be looking at this, but as long as you're doing the work, out of the corner of your eyes, you're getting this mountain of confidence and good credit. And then all of a sudden, when you actually require to use it, you turn and it's there. If you try to get it, if you specifically try to get it, you will not get it. It's a very peculiar feeling, because you wouldn't believe you deserve to get it, and as a result, you'd sabotage out of it. So that's why an early morning wake up, exercise, sort your nutrition out, meditation, stuff that you can do anywhere, like anywhere. I used to do 300 burpees every morning, 600 at one point in time, and through that I learned everything. And when you turn, you see that you've kind of fixed your problem.
That stuff still sounds to me like someone needs confidence in order to believe any of that stuff is going to work out, though. So there must have been times where you didn't have confidence
100%.
when you were in your holes.
Yeah, 100%. But you don't need confidence. You just need to shut the fuck up and do what you're told, and just do what's required. No one who did anything great had confidence to begin with. They got the confidence by doing the thing that made them great. And it's that.
So it's an action list in starting.
Yeah, it's action,
it's
action, and it's doing something. You're not going to have all the tools you require or be the person you will be at the beginning of anything, but you become by doing it. I think I was just talking to the Uber guy, and how I experience myself and my life these days is totally different to how it was even 2 months ago. You just unfold. Quite extraordinary.
Yeah. Well, I just want to give an example of someone that's sort of overweight, working a job that they hate, and things like that. Like, can you look down on that and see exactly what they're doing wrong? In your perspective.
Often. So if we are habit, and we are habit, I mean, in the yogic sutras they call it a samskara. It's a habit of thought, right? So this is not a new idea.
Yeah. That
you are habit. So if all the things you do are giving you the life in your body and your health that you have, will do different things. If you're doing things which make you feel bad, stop doing things which make you feel bad. If you want to do things which would make you feel good, do things that will make you feel good. The problem about things that make you feel good is they're often difficult to do. They're sometimes painful, or we experience them as pain, and they're often hard. Comparatively, but they're not. They're easy. You just have to do them, and it's a chicken and egg thing, because you won't be able to do them until you've done it, and you certainly won't be able to do them until you've done it long enough. And it's knowing that these things are going to take a little longer than you think, but you deserve it, and you deserve to look after yourself. Yeah, totally.
Do you think this goes to all areas of life, this sort of mental resilience, it's relationships, business?
I think it makes the desire and the delusion that all your problems will be solved when you have money.
Yeah.
Because I've had that. I used to spend 20 grand a month on nothing, and I was miserable, right? And at the moment, business is good, but it's probably not as good as it has been in the past, and I am much more satisfied with everything. I'm as happy as I've ever been in my existence, and that's because of who I've become. And with that, I know that my life will be better. But that's that's taken 2.5 years and hundreds of thousands of burpees and hundreds of hours of exercise and yoga and all sorts of stuff. So you have to pay.
Yeah. So is it important that people build up all areas of their life rather than just, say, focusing on their business because they think that's going to solve their issues? A lot of people do that.
Yeah, well, no, totally. And again, I've made that mistake, and I've made that mistake in my career, and everyone has done that. And you look around, and there's a great Steve Jobs in his last letter. He says you can pay someone who can make you money, you can pay someone to drive you, but you can't pay someone to bear your sickness. And if you know you've been... I spent enough time in palliative care wards and respiratory wards, seeing people who may be partially complicit in where they're at, right? No judgment. And that's got to hit at you in a way. And I think I knew that was the case for me. And I think, if I'm honest, most people do somewhere deep down. So structuring your life around purpose and around decent, good action is going to help you everywhere. It's going to help you everywhere. And any business you'll have, you'll care for more because it will care for you because you care for yourself.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your business journey then. Yes. When did you start your business?
So I started this business in 2013, but if I look back, no, 2011, it's 13 years, 2011. But if I look back, when I was working for my second company, I built a house when I was working. It was not my best time, but I built an entire house out of the ground.
Wow.
I'd bought all these ridiculous returned irons. This was a joke. There was some auction thing that they had these returned irons. I figured there was like 600 irons. And I figured some of them would have been returned. They'd have been working. I was going to sort of hedge that. And it was just a massive scam. They just wound up being left in a house that I used to own. But I was always looking, and when I came up with this business idea, it was probably about 4 or 5 years before I actually started it in the previous, where I was actually experiencing all the knowledge that I built up from working at GE. And it was until things got unpleasant enough that I did that. Yeah, so I would say it's an overnight success that was probably 10 years in the making.
Yeah. So what was that journey like, though? For the people that are in the bottom right now?
Oh God, that's a great question. So it's full of dead ends, mistakes, expense, errors, feeling stupid, and thinking it's not really going to happen. And
that's what I want to get on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That feeling that it's not going to happen. Like I've had relative business success, but I recently realised, I don't really want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm scared to not scared. Sorry, I'm doing the next thing. I've started the next thing already. One of it, being the podcast that I'm doing now. There's still that little part of me in my head goes, what if this doesn't work out? And I've chucked away the last thing.
The great thing.
That's what I want to do. Everyone has that.
Totally. Okay. Well, what does working out look like? So there's a girl who works at the gym, and she's an actress, and they talk about making it. Well, would you even know if you made it when you got there? Would you even know that? No, you don't. And it's only in review. And it's like, if I would take a strip back about where I am right now and about all the things I'm doing, say, I'd give my left leg to be in this position, right? And it's like, no, I built that. And recognising when you're there is hard sometimes. So, that can be a bit of self-limiting belief. And the other thing to say about it is people think, what if it didn't work out? What if it does? Because it has worked out. It has worked out for other people. Failures are only failures if you stop. Otherwise, they're just lessons.
Yeah.
Had I stopped when I bought 500-600 half-working irons? It's fucking ridiculous. And there's just a litany of like things like this. I built property, or I bought property to flip and put a student houses, all sorts of things. It just wasn't for me. And what the funny thing is, the business I've got was an unintentional exercise, but it supplies me what I require right now. And then there'll be the next thing and the next thing. And if there's not, it's not a problem. You just don't quit trying. You just stop being. You don't never quit being creative and curious. That is the death of it.
Yeah. So I struggle with that because there's a lot of people that a lot of successful entrepreneurs that I've followed, and a lot of them say, no matter how you feel, how bad it gets, in order to be really successful as an entrepreneur, you have to just keep pushing, even if it feels. And I don't 100% agree with that, because sometimes if your body's telling you in every part, every shape and form, that this isn't right for you, then maybe it is time to jump. But sometimes I feel like you're not. Sometimes you should stick with it, and sometimes you should listen to.
Well, what I think it's like.
So
this is actually probably a bit more of a global thing. But one of the things that you can struggle with is about know thyself, right, and trusting yourself. And this almost comes back down to daily discipline and what that will teach you.
Yeah.
So one of the things about stripping away, and aspects of stripping away ego, which would be fear-based, judgment-based. What would people think if those goes wrong? Versus instinct, which has been built up over time.
Yeah.
And that's why people who have been in business a long period of time have hopefully good instincts, because they're actually not operating from fear. They've been able to deal with that. But if you maybe one or two in, maybe not so much. I mean, I don't think you're an entrepreneur unless you're like someone like Richard Branson. It was something that used to be given by society. You're an entrepreneur. Nothing wrong about being a business owner. Nothing wrong about it. But it's like, if you've done it multiple times, I think that's different gravy. Totally. So I get where you're coming from. I don't think there's an easy answer to that.
Yeah. Purpose is like it's a big word. And there's no specific meaning to it, is it? I don't think. Everyone's different in terms of what they want themselves. But how long did it take you to start seeing big success when you started your business?
Genuine, and this would be it. So, well, it was all relative. So I'd have been quite happy to replace my wage. That was how it started. So I'd have been quite happy to replace, £30,000 to £40,000 a year wage. That was my goal. That was my vision. And then it sort of grew from there, as it were. And it then became sort of, I wouldn't say kind of runaway success, but getting up near to 2 mil. At its point back as it was 2016, 17, you're just in it then. And the issue for me was, I guess, I started thinking too much about the money. not about the purpose, not about its mission. That was a massive mistake for me. And also then my interrelationship with it. I became dependent on it. My value was dependent on the money, on the number, which is, it's what you get conditioned if you spend
insecurity if it went down.
Yeah, totally. And exactly, yeah. So that completely
Yeah.
comes in fear. And it's all the things you've been conditioned if you've had a career in sales. And the second, so I would genuinely say where I am is probably the most successful I've ever been, which is I feel great about me. The business is alive and it's kicking. It's in a great stable position, and it's my servant. I'm not it. And I think that, and I don't panic. And if it went bust, I would be fine because I built the confidence on me. My mental strength, my spiritual strength, where my heart is and my body, that I'll be fine. I don't fear any of that. And that is unbelievable as a place to be compared to where I was 3 years ago, which was panicky and fearful and addicted. So,
What was the turning point for you then about 3 years ago?
Again, it was the girl leaving me. Because it was the mirror I needed to recognise that I wasn't the clever fucker I thought I was, and I wasn't right, and my life was going to go very badly, and it was all me. It was all my fault. It was all my fault. No one else's. We're all given stuff to deal with, all of us. It's what to do with it and what to do about it. And I was just in denial. I mean, I remember the first time I was truly wrong. Like, this is no word of a lie. And I'd done 1,000 burpees one day, and I did 600 in the morning. 400 in the morning. At burpee 350, I had this epiphany that I was wrong. And I can't believe say this, I genuinely never truly believed I was wrong.
What were you wrong about?
I didn't know. This was it. I didn't know. And I actually sent a text message, and I said to someone, you were right, I was wrong. And I didn't expect to hear anything back, and I just felt like I'd released 1.5 tons of guilt and all sorts of things. And I got a message back about what? About what? And I genuinely didn't know. It was just, I knew that I was wrong. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Do you think most people are wrong about a lot of stuff, with their
totally
conditioning about the way they see life?
It's if you have this thing that you have, which is you've been told that being wrong is wrong, that failing is wrong, that you're a good boy if you pass this, and you're going to get this, and you go and get this, and eventually when you're 40 you're there. When you get to 40, as I'm north of that, you're not. Right? It's a lie. Then it's a way of protecting yourself. If you think the way you view the world is right, it's your ego, unfortunately.
Yeah, you've been through sort of probably every emotion a human could have in your sort of career and life, I guess. And now you're at a stage where obviously you've got that mental resilience, you're happy. Some people that are just still living that average life, but they know they want more, but they just can't take that jump. What are they seeing that's wrong? What's wrong about their outlook and the way they're seeing life?
Okay,
I want to put that into them so that they know the reality.
Yeah, it's great. So you can only see things from your perspective. This is great. This is great things. You're a filtering system.
Yeah.
So if your filters have been sort of put into you by your parents and your schooling and all sorts of stuff, you can only see what you can see. So this is why breaking what you do as habit on a level will start the change. So let's say, for example, you're someone who isn't when I reached out to Wes initially, I was terrified of a 4 a.m. wake up. Guess what time I used to wake up? 3:10.
Wow.
I wake up, no, a.m. A.m.
Wow.
I would do that. I was psychopathic on that because it was so important for me. Because it was more, if I couldn't do that, I couldn't do anything. If I couldn't do that, I wouldn't have the life I deserve. If I couldn't do that, I was different from the person I was before. So you kind of start off with stuff like this. Change is hard. And changing how you view things is just an extension of who you are. And it also feeds back the other way. So you literally say, if I said, wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, and you go, what you can do? You can do what you want with that time. But do that, exercise. I guarantee you, given you do that enough times, you will change. because it's something you didn't do before. And the rules are you do stuff you didn't do. And you start off there, and then you can start to build in. Get rid of a load of the bad stuff. I mean, no vices, no drink, no drugs, nothing like that, because you truly can't be the best person you can be with them. And then off you go.
In my experience, what happens is once you master something like that, it becomes your norm. You don't even notice that you're not superior to other people, but you're different to other people. You know, you've conditioned yourself to be different.
You're different from yourself before as well. So, you know, you kind of you've reconstructed yourself and separated yourself out from the crowd. You know, we have an issue in this country about tall poppies. I mean, hilariously, my middle name is Tyler, and you may never have heard of a guy called Wat Tyler, but he led the Peasants' Revolt back in the 13th century. He got his head stuck outside of Tower of London. It's funny, I lived near that. And we live in a country which is very, very good at keeping people in their place.
Yeah.
And how dare you think like that? And how dare you have ambition? And how dare you think differently? You go and do that. That's your box, and that's your place. And it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's getting out of the system, isn't it, I guess?
It's getting out of the system.
So would you say it's like, piecing it apart for someone watching, would you say it's setting one goal, mastering that, like the 5 a.m. wake up, and then another, and layering them on top of each other?
I think if you're looking to try to change your life, you have to start somewhere, and you start somewhere which is at no cost apart from the cost you pay. So, you know, there's all sorts of costs, and you're paying always. So something like that this is why people don't like it. It's because it's not glamorous, but it works.
Yeah.
It's not glamorous, but it works. It's not a qualification.
What I see is that they want it, but then once you start doing something like that, they haven't attached enough desire to their why, and then they let it go.
Yeah.
Totally. So, like, how does someone find? Oh my God,
this is gold. This is gold. No, just totally. So the more empty something is, the more something appears to lack of meaning, the more meaning you can pour into it. So the reason for me that I was never not going to do that was because I was so desperate to be different from who I was, because who I was going to kill me. So it was a matter of life and death for me. It was a matter of life and death. I knew that I would never touch a drug or drink again. I knew it. I would rather go and jump off a bridge. So it was that level of import. And you can attach that. You can attach anything you want to that. It's up to you. But you have to mean it. You have to mean it. And then why would you fail? You'd be impossible to fail then. You'd be so tough. You'd be so determined, because you're being pushed and pulled at the same time. You're being pushed and pulled at the same time. And if you're pushed and pulled at the same time, you're unstoppable.
Do you know your why?
Back then, it was. I didn't want to be the person I was, because all the things attached to that. So I knew that that person would be dead. I wouldn't have a good relationship.
Were you embarrassed about who you were?
I was ashamed.
Ashamed, yeah.
Ashamed. Yeah, I had massive shame about who I was, because objectively my life should have been good, and objectively I shouldn't have felt the way I did. And I hadn't given any consideration to any of that, and I impacted other people. And what would have been more shameful about that is that had I died being so bloody selfish and self-indulgent and self-centered, that, you know, I'd have been stuck in my place in, I was living in Chiswick at the time, dead on a bed with my dog, who I loved very, very much. You know, he saved my life, bless him. What my parents wouldn't know, they had no idea. No, because you're very, very good at covering stuff up. You're very, very good at it, because you believe it yourself, but you don't. You do shame glorification. Are you familiar with shame glorification?
I'm not, no.
Shame glorification is a thing where someone says, so let's say they pat their stomach and go, oh, look, bought and paid for. They're not proud of that. They're ashamed of it. And understandably so. And I used to say, self-medication, still medication. I used to joke about that. It's disgusting. You know, I drank to excess. I was, you know, nearly an ounce of cocaine a week. It's just so self-destructive. It was so awful. It's pitiful, really. I'm glad I went through it, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you regret anything that you did or went through? Because most of the people that I speak to that have succeeded now, they don't, because it built who they are.
Yeah, I think I experienced regret, and I think regret is hell, like literal hell. I think that is like true regret is literal hell.
Real
that
regret,
is like it, especially if you have recognised what the problem is and done nothing about it, and I think that's true. So I don't. No, because how things panned out is how things panned out. You know, there are many times I could have died. There are many times that many bad things could have happened to me, but they didn't. So I have to couch that in this way and go, no, that happened for a reason. It turned me into the person I am, and I'm actually very pleased with the person I've become. And it's just beginning. You know, enlightenment takes a while.
You're trying to help others now, clearly. You know, from your Instagram, everything like that. What's your why now then? It's obviously pivoted from yourself.
Oh
to
God,
others.
It's funny. I have a lot of conversations with people, and people are very generous and nice and kind to me, which again is something I didn't think I deserved before. Whether I deserve it now is not for me to say. But I know what I do remember in my bones what that felt like, and I don't want anyone to feel like that. And I know what it feels like to feel like me now. How much more optimism and joy and abundance and love and compassion that I have for me and others. But it's taken a long bloody time, and it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth every tear. It's worth every sacrifice. Because you'll have a better go of it.
How did you find this why then? I want to break it down.
Oh God! So
finding the why.
So finding why. Part of my initial coaching was to actually go on Instagram. I couldn't even look at myself. I couldn't even look at myself. I couldn't even face me looking at me.
What's your Instagram, by the way?
It's Ross_Tyler_Burgess. So I offer coaching for people with addictions, but also people looking to get in business and generally up their life in other areas. We can all have better. We can all be better, but no one's going to sort it out for you. You know, you're allowed to have guides. So it's like Hercules. He had the 12. He had 12 labours. That's right. He had 12 labours. He had to do 2 again. One of them he had to do 2 again because he didn't do it on his own. You're allowed to have guides, but you have to do the work on your own. There's no shortcut. There's none. That's what's empowering about it. That's what gives you respect.
Yeah. So you're trying to guide people.
I'm trying to show people that they don't have to feel the way they did, because ultimately it's everything. How you feel about your life and how you feel in your day is everything. That's what any one of us are doing anything for. Look, Wes, he told me that I was too comfortable. I bought a Ferrari, right? 4.8 Spider, blue Electrica. It was the most expensive one in the country. I was terrified. It was like the most complicated thing to buy for me. I nearly backed out of it multiple times. Judgment, shame. Would I live up to it? All sorts of things. Best thing I ever did. I mean, it's like genuinely taught me so much. And part of that was it made me feel good, but also to get rid of it was fine too. You know, it's like I'm the drunk who sold his Ferrari.
I've heard that theory from there's a guy that I follow online, and I don't know, he's very showy, and his reason for having all his supercars is that I can only just afford them, and I buy them so that I'm not comfortable. Yeah. And I thought that was bullshit, to be honest. But what you've just said, it sounds like you don't think that's bullshit.
No. It has an aspect because it puts you under a certain level of duress.
Yeah.
But also it's like no bad thing happened because I could afford it, and I had to make some decisions business wise, which meant everything going a bit tight. Yeah. And then it's a problem I have to solve. So you realise that there's no fear about actually stretching yourself. There's no fear about actually doing something which people might say is wasteful, because you can sort the problem out. There's no problem you can't sort out. That's the point.
Yeah.
It's like you can get yourself into, if it transpires that it got you into a mess and then you sort it out, you're the person who sorted it out. That goes into your credibility file for you. You see what I mean? It's like there's no bad thing that will happen from that, like none. It's all part of your story. Otherwise, you're just someone who sits there going, I could have bought. Great case in point. Some woman came up to me and she had 2 kids and said they love Ferraris. They were crawling in it. It's up in Chelsea. Husband comes up, says, "Oh, I'm going to Maranello," which is where they make Ferraris, and you can only go in there if you have one or something like that. They won't let you in there with a Lamborghini, obviously. And they said, I said, "Oh, why do you have one?" He goes, "No, I have shares in the business." Now I joke, by saying this. It's like I slept with his wife, because you can either be someone who has the car or has the shares in the business. Now, most people go, have the shares in the business, are going to make you money. No, you have the car because that's the experience. That's the experience. That would be my view on it. Other people would disagree, I don't doubt.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
If you can, you should. In fact, no, if you can, you must. It's good. It's good to be out there showing this. It's good to be positive. Yeah. I miss it, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
it was a vibe. It was a total vibe.
Bugatti next.
You know. Does it do a convertible? Not yet. They do actually. Mistral. There you go. Yeah, fine. So it was good.
So I've grown in my, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I've grown in my business and life by setting myself goals that are, you know, I would say scary to me, you know, and then when I get comfortable, I set myself new goals. For example, I'm doing 75 hard challenge at the moment. Andy Frisella, don't know if you've had it. So, you know, 2 workouts a day, gallon, you know, for the audience, 2 workouts a day, gallon of water a day, reading a book, 10 pages, and then a set diet. And I'm not allowed any junk stuff like that. Now, I set myself that because I felt too comfortable. Mentally, I just felt myself slipping into this comfort zone, watching too much TV in the evening, whilst doing work at the same time, but watching TV. My workouts were lagging. I was doing sort of 25, 30 minutes. I was like, what is going on here? Not enough exercise. But I'm well aware that most people don't get that urge that I got. Most people, I would say, 90% don't get the urge to say...
I'm not sure if that's true, because one thing is that it's like, monitor why you do something. So why do you reach for your phone? Why do you reach for the food? Why do you reach for anything? It's like we're so subconsciously driven. If you're pulling in 10 million bits of data a second right now, what do you think is handed over to our conversation? If it's 10 million bits, 50 bits. So we're so unaware of these things. So we're feeling a way, whether it's actually you should be doing more. There's something pulling you, a frustration. And we don't understand these feelings. We don't sort of tune into ourselves. We're distracted and sedated. That's why doing stuff like 75 hard is good, because it pairs things down. If you're permanently hungry all the time, you're certainly not worried about certain things. You're not worried about the currency if you're really hungry. I was in the 1,600 calorie deficit a day. I was fucking starving. And it's true. You're just worried about eating, and it pairs everything back. So I think everyone knows what they should do. But very few people do it. That's the difference.
So I guess what I meant was a lot of people I've told about the 75 hard challenge. I don't know anyone else personally that's done it or doing it. You know, I know people online, but personally, and you know the one where they say to me, I think it's a bit excessive.
Oh yeah, they say it's a bit extreme. Yeah,
and I'm like, well, that's the point. And then I don't try and say that to them, because it's not up to me to convince them. You know, that's just their perspective, and that's similar to what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Well, it's the window of it. It's a window of what you consider hard, and once you reset that barometer or thermometer, then that hard thing becomes easy, becomes normal. It's a standard. So it seems overwhelming, but once you've done it, you go, "What was the bloody problem?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that's true of anything. I think.
I
can't. You know, I don't have children. They've not been part of my life up to now. I can't imagine anything that's more like that than that. You know, it's sort of like, oh, okay, have kids.
Yeah.
People do that all the time.
Yeah.
Don't question it. So, it's the voluntary nature of it.
Yeah. What do you think about judgments as you've grown? Because, like, for example, I walked past a pub yesterday, and I can't help it, and I hate myself for this. Hate myself's a bit of a strong word. I hate that I do this so much, but if I walk past someone and they're smoking a fag and drinking loads of beers and acting like a twat basically outside a pub, I really judge them. And I think you could be doing so much more. And I can't help that. I just kind of
I don't think that's a judgment. I think is that a judgment? I mean, it's sort of say you can love people but don't hate you can hate on their habits. Right? And it's like you are not all the things you do. You know, to some extent, right? Especially so they're not you. And they're not them. They're just coping or managing something in a maybe not positive way. You know, we're all addicts to some degree.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lie. I do the same thing. I do it less now. Funny enough,
it's because you're a high achiever.
Not because I'm a high achiever. Because the things I'm most proud of, I think anyone can do. Yes. The things I'm most proud of, I'm not proud of the business. Anyone could do that potentially. I'm proud that I can do like a downward dog properly. It's that I'm proud that I can breathe properly. I'm proud that I don't wake up in a panic. They're the things that I genuinely am proud of, and anyone can do that.
But why is that stuff not aspirational when having a multi-million-pound business is?
Oh, because we value money more.
Stress.
We value money more than anything else, and money is an obvious way we can externalise or show people, if you want to, or people think it's more important than they do. If I do a post on social media and I say, you need 100 grand a year to live in London minimum, right? Or I take anything about money, or I say something about a contented heart and a peaceful mind, what gets traction and what doesn't? It's money, because it triggers people. That's all I know. It triggers people. So we clearly value money more than anything, and I'm not entirely sure if that's right. It's important, and the person you are means you're more likely to get it and value it and respect it, because people are more likely to play with you if you're not a massive prick and self-destructive and trustworthy. And you are trustworthy.
Yeah, because it's so true. Some of the podcast episodes I put out, some of them in the first 30 days, I get a couple of thousand downloads in the first 30 days, and they're talking about money. Whenever I put something out that's sort of personal development focused, like 125 views, but I've had 2 or 3 messages, even from my dad, personal people saying that's the best interview you've ever done. But people just don't click on it because they don't think they need that.
Well, what's funny as well, imagine all these podcasts that are talking about money, but how few people are out there doing anything about it. So it's theatrics. Yeah. So it's like, it's if I listen to this podcast, it's going to assuage my deep-seated insecurity about cash. Let's just say.
That no one else knows apart from...
Everyone, exactly, no one else knows. No one else really cares about it, but I'm not going to do the work that's required to sort that out. And it's always going to be, which is why the personal development stuff matters, because you will never get there if you haven't become that person. I built my business to some extent out of desperation, because I was so in pain about how it was that it drove me that way. If I do anything now, I want to be more intentional. You're probably in the same boat. There's more intentional. It'll be... comes from a different place with a different heart. And I think that matters, especially if you want longevity in anything. If you want longevity, I think that truly matters.
Yeah. So when I started this podcast, I wanted to do something that I was more purposeful towards, and the why. But I can't lie. Sometimes I think, God, that was a big undertaking that I took on, and I was quite comfortable in the business that I had, and now I've deployed some of my focus over here. But I just know that it's right, you know. But once again, I know a lot of people that won't ever take that jump, but because they're too comfortable,
Look, one of the things is that we've been conditioned just after the Great Depression that 80% of people were interrelated. We're in independent, interrelated businesses. Now, after the Great Depression, that was the rise of the corporation, and we've all been fed into that. Become good at something, become a great mechanic, become good at something, but express yourself in the world. Don't just, well, it's up to you, I suppose, but being in a cubicle, wearing a gilet, I don't care how much bloody money you earn. If you have to ask permission for lunch, I'm taking this, if you have to ask permission to stay on holiday longer, you're a slave. And you don't have to be. You don't have to be. And you certainly won't be all the person you can be living that life, I tell you.
We haven't got long left. Let's go back to the person that's stuck in their job doing the thing they don't want to do right now. Maybe their mindset isn't where they want to be. They don't feel that positive. Like, what would you say to that person?
That's temporary. If you actually are even looking at things to change, that's information, right? That's not trivial, because not everyone will even want to look at this, right? So if you're looking at stuff which you know is growth focused or business focused, that's important. But it's nothing more important than an aspect of execution. So careful with your own bullshit. So I've had this multiple times. I'm not sure how much your business costs to set up, but mine was 400 quid. It cost £400 for my first stock. It's nothing.
Some people dismiss the starting one straight away.
They'll go to a £50,000 figure. Where did you get that from? You pulled that out your arse. Some businesses do cost that, but lots don't. So start off with something which doesn't. What resources do you have? What capabilities do you have? And then go from there. No one started big. Classic. No one started big.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's. Oh, I really like what you said there about picking something and getting good at it. Because you know, that's what I did in, you know, one of my businesses. I picked e-commerce. I got good at it. It's generated me income. I've been able to invest and now start doing what I want, which is this. And, you know, essentially, it's not easy, but start carving the life that I want, I guess. I just really like that advice, you know, about just picking something.
You are your life. And if you're unhappy with your life, you must do something about it, because it's the only one that you know you've got. So you can do certain things to change. You can change your body, you can change your mind, you can change how you spend your time. It's not easy. That's why so few people appear to do it. But people do it. They do it all the time. And they're no different from you or I, anyone else. And some people do it at different levels of success, in quotes, and failure. But if you're carving your life out on your terms as best as possible, I think that's success. I think that's total success. Your way or the highway.
Have you got big success in your relationships?
No. I have great. I have a kind of narrative which I'm working very, very hard to sort out. Which it was about friends, and that was a kind of generational curse. But I actually have best friends. I mean, when I very first started doing a self-development journey, I was meant to have a credo, right? So a motto of how it was. But I actually wrote a poem, and I can never remember what it was. But it was about being. I've kind of embodied that, and I'm very happy I did that. So having better friendships has definitely come up. When it comes to romantic relationships, yeah, that's the next thing. You know, I've been lucky to be loved, and I think I've seen a lot of the negative, and because I was negative, and I haven't really taken a step back and indulged that. Or not indulged that, analysed that, or reflected upon that. But that's if you're a better person, you will have better things in your life, and I'm certainly better than I have been. So I'm optimistic.
Yeah. It's funny, yeah, just for me, so out of all the challenges I've had in business and myself, you know, getting myself out of some dark patches, the biggest struggle I've always had is in relationships and just how they all connect. And
life is, and especially their mirrors, especially, you know, not to be too specific about it, but you might be able to bullshit me, you might be able to bullshit your mates, but you definitely won't be able to bullshit a girl. Exactly. They'll see straight through you. See straight through me.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah, I just see it all the time. People, I want to touch on this because I think it's fascinating. I see all the people looking for this spark, you know, and I just think it's just the biggest load of shit that I've ever heard in my life. You know, this sort of spark, and it really held me back for so many years. You know, thinking that I needed this to feel this exact way.
Well, the word there is like needed. It's like needed. It's like work out what you want.
Yeah,
and then go from there. And it's people don't know what they want. And especially when it comes to sort of like that, it's that's a conditioning thing.
Yeah.
And maybe a self-sabotage or unrealistic expectation.
Unrealistic expectations. That was another thing. Yeah. Expecting them to have the same outlook on every disagreement or life as me.
Well, then you're just you, and then if you're just you, then where's the fun in that? I mean, this is like disagreement is where the good stuff is.
Yeah,
right. It's like an aspect. I wouldn't say conflict. I mean, I've changed my view on that. But people with different perspectives, especially if it's your significant other, I think, is no bad thing.
Yeah, amazing. So Ross, where can people find you if they want to?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Ross_Tyler_Burgess. You can message me if you want coaching, or if you just have any questions, or if you just want to follow. I've been at it a while. It's been a great journey to be on there. And again, that would be a great case in point of shouting into the void until the void shouts back.
That resilience. Yeah. How long have you been posting?
About 2 and a bit years. I can't remember how it is. I mean, I've been good on it, and it's been a wonderful lesson. It's been a lesson in being okay about being vulnerable. Because if you can't be open-hearted and be vulnerable, you're not going to get what you could get in life. If you're just close-hearted and fearful, then that's what you're going to get.
And you just kept posting. Then
kept posting, went through all sorts of stuff, my dog dying and all sorts of things, and the most incredible mini revelations. I think I've had an ego death. All this stuff has been out there. And if people have been following me that period of time, I'm just very kind of flattered that they would bother their arse listening to me waffle on sometimes. So yeah, it's been good.
Amazing. I'll drop that in the description below.
Not the bother your arse waffling on thing. I mean, no, it's been good. It's been an adventure. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Ross.
Thank you.
And we will, look forward to hopefully having you again in the near future.
Pleasure.
See you soon. Thanks, all.
Bye.
Cool. Nice one, mate.
How was that? I don't know.
Really, really good, mate. Really good.
How did you find it? Okay. I was more concise than I normally would be, and I swore a lot less, which is quite incredible.
I swore more than you.
Yeah, I resolved this. This is my resolution to swear less.
Yeah. No, it was really good, mate.
I'm not sure if I mumble much. I don't move my top lip. Someone said to me, someone said some smart arse in one of my comments, they go, "Oh, wouldn't it be good to have a top lip?" I've got chipped teeth. I've got chipped teeth. I've got an insecurity about them.
Oh.
Yeah, totally. So, but not so much my bottom anymore. My whole does the same thing. Talks like that. Yeah. It's like a habit.
I didn't even notice.
It's a bit numb now. It's like, crazy. Thank you.
It was really good, mate. Yeah, really good. It'll be out in a few weeks. I never know exactly.
Send stuff through. I can get someone to sort of do stuff, but I'll make sure I'll punt it off to my lot as well.
That'd be great. Yeah. Do you want me to send you the full recording so you can clip it yourself?
Send me the full recording, but also if you send me, I'll promote you for what it's worth.
Nice.
On the stories and stuff.
That'd be great.
As well, so I'll say that.
I'll do a nice intro clip. You might have seen them, when it comes out. But yeah, it'll be a few weeks. And
pleasure. A real privilege to be asked.
It was really good, mate. Yeah, really good. I enjoyed it. I think it's going to help a lot of people. Well,
we'll see.